Daily Stock Market Update. It is the 20th of November, and, well, nVidia delivered. There were very high expectations, but the CEO unexpectedly used phrases such as the demand for Blackwell, their graphics cards and the chips that they make, is off the charts. And you don't normally get language like that from a CEO, which suggests that they really do want to push this narrative of high growth. They've got to be honest and truthful. They don't want to temper their language. So it looks like the AI thing really is that real. It's not that they're just trying to ramp up their own stocks in the near term, because that would lead to no great advantage for them. It's not as if they've got a takeover bid on the horizon, which makes sense for them to ramp up their stock prices, or the CEO has got bonuses dependent upon it. That language was very, very instructive. And for the market with very high expectations to nevertheless rise, and I was watching it live, the prices just beforehand, to look for any clues, and there weren't. It was dipping a little bit before the announcement, minutes before the announcement, but then it just started to move up. So if you were looking at the stock futures live, whether as CFDs or otherwise, you really didn't get much of a clue either way, which is as it's supposed to be. Anyway, that's incredibly important because it's now lifted up sentiment, S&P 500 futures, NASDAQ futures, Asia, Europe, that, oh, this is real. People still remain in disbelief up until these set of announcements. Now, the disbelief is going to kick in again because the journalists will bring that narrative around. What matters is not journalistic comment, but what's actually happening to the data that nVidia is producing on its earnings. And the numbers are in the billions in terms of profits. Unlike the dot-com boom, these are profitable companies. When I was doing my Bloomberg TV show during the dot-com bubble, we constantly made the point these are running on momentum because they don't have any profits, so we can't value them. In fact, the whole game was not to value those companies with profits, because as soon as you earn profits, you have a multiple. So for instance, I don't know, if you've got 10 million in profits and your multiple is 30, you're worth 300 million, okay, 30 times 10. The problem that you have, or the benefit you have of not having profits, is you can say discount cash flow. We're going to earn $1 billion over the next 10 years, discounted at current interest rates. Boom, we're now worth $1 billion or $2 billion. That isn't what can happen with these profitable companies like nVidia, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Alphabet, and so on, because you can look at their valuation on a multiple. What you might disagree on is the rate of growth, and therefore why you're willing to pay a higher multiple for it. Anyway, all is good, surprisingly, because given how high those expectations were, it was a very high bar to then exceed. They've managed to do it. The issue becomes, can they keep doing it? Because, of course, that bar becomes the high watermark, and they've got to exceed that next time. Anyway, as things stand for the moment, I don't normally trade, but on a sort of more trading basis, I have increased positions in nVidia just before the earnings announcement, because I felt I'm looking at it, I'm staring at the screen, I can exit quickly if it should pop downwards. It didn't, and as it rose, and it rose steadily. If you watched it, it went up 1%, 2%, then 3%, then dropped back, and then I think it opened up another 5%, or it's going to open up another 5% from the futures contracts. In any event, that's trading. I don't recommend doing that. What I'm saying is, for my core holdings on the investing side, no worries. In fact, all my technology companies should have a buoyant lift. Given how overbought the market is, I think the clue is what's happening in the UK, which is not tech-rich. But what's happened is there, the FTSE 100, despite all the negative economic news, has broken new ground way above its normal average prices, short-term average prices, medium-term average prices. And if the American markets continue doing this, then Morgan Stanley's prediction of another 16% rise in the S&P 500 next year does look highly likely. And it looks like the journalists will keep quiet about the stock market and trying to scare people for another week at least. Okay, Asian tech rallied. Japanese Nikkei and South Korean Kospi surged on nVidia's results. The whole world was looking at this from a technology perspective, and it's been incredibly positive news as well. The dollar has increased in price. Why has the dollar increased? Well, there's now talk that there won't be a December cut in interest rates in the US. That's actually good news for the stock market, because in the stock market is this buoyant, then it's always looking one step ahead, and it's saying, well, actually, if you also cut interest rates, then you're going to more likely stop cutting them in the future. So they prefer a bit of being kept on a leash, which is what not cutting rates in December would do. That's no bad thing for the market, because we can expect one then in January or February. Keeps us buoyant and excited, in a good mood, that we're going to get our Christmas present a little bit later, but we're still going to get it. Okay. Gold prices, dollar strengthened. You need fewer dollars to buy gold, so the price of gold has dipped slightly. Very simple algorithm to work that out. UK markets should continue rising, partly because this AI story out of the US, it doesn't directly impact the UK, except for this. I was at a conference speaking at a conference on Monday, and the person next to me was Deborah Meaden, and the person on the left asked me, do you know Varun Chandra, special advisor to the Prime Minister? And I said, well, my wife does. She works with him at the Office for Investment. And I said, he's the one who helped bring in the 30 billion into the United Kingdom from Microsoft. Now, just to put that inward investment into context, because Microsoft and nVidia and all these companies are doing incredibly well, and the dinner that Donald Trump had with the king, whenever you have these state visits, you've got to have announceables. Okay, government, I work with government, you've got to have announceables. So they had the announceable inward investment. That inward investment of 30 billion wouldn't have happened but for two things. One, the Prime Minister's special advisor and the royal visit all connected into one, and the gentleman next to me who had been the connection point to make it happen. And secondly, if the AI boom wasn't there, the AI boom is what gives these companies the money to make these investments elsewhere. So it is good for the UK. Now, 30 billion hasn't arrived today, but Microsoft are the type who do deliver on their promises. To put that into context, the UK economy is smaller than India's, and yet Microsoft had made a promise of only 3 billion to India, smaller economy. Says a lot about the UK, says a lot about relationships, etc., etc. But it does tell you that this wealth gets spread globally, and so it's good for other economies as well. Now, S&P futures, they're up. I'm speaking to you before the US markets open. The futures give us a guidance, 1.3% up. That means the S&P is going to be booming. NASDAQ futures up 1.8 because it's more technology rich. Post-close, nVidia surged 5%. I mean, nerves. There's part of that is relief rally. Part of that is people buying back in who sold beforehand. Remember, Peter Thiel said, I've sold all my nVidia. Michael Burry said, I'm closing my hedge fund. Okay, so there's a lot of people who are thinking, well, no, this can't last. What the hell's going on? So that's very good news. Euro stocks 50 futures up 1% as well. That's global sentiment, all down to nVidia. Not a phrase I would have used 3 years ago, 4 years ago. So if you're a longer term investor, you're happy this morning. If you're a short term trader, you're probably happy as well, unless you were short all of this, of course, in which case there's a problem. I thought for fun, whilst it was bath time with my son yesterday, I'd look at Polymarkets. Polymarkets is sort of a public market to determine which way things might happen. And it said 84% likelihood of it beating expectations. I thought it was interesting. Could be coincidence, could be lack of data. Normally, retail clients don't tend to call it as right, but more increasingly they do, which is why I think retail clients are increasingly managing their own pensions, because with the amount of data out there, I was reading something on FT Advisor today about exactly that, that they're sacking advisors because there's the data and the information out there. What else have we got on the daily market update? Non-farm payroll figures, basically employment numbers. Okay, that's due out today. Does it really matter? I think the data's relating to September. They've got jobless claims, housing starts, industrial production. The problem with a lot of this data is it's dated, it's old because of the shutdown, The nVidia story is a bigger story. The accuracy of their data is questionable. It's always revised after the event, and the number of people who fill these forms in and the methods of monitoring are questionable at best. So data integrity has meant that macroeconomic data has become less important than earnings figures from individual companies, which is good news for us because we really would rather that what impacts our investments in, say, an nVidia or a Microsoft or a Lam Research or whatever else it is the earnings numbers coming out of those companies, i.e. direct primary source, not tertiary factors such as broader macroeconomic information, which you might think is perverse because you might think, well, you're saying less information is good. Less noise is good. Bitcoin up slightly, risk on, you might hear on financial TV. It's a phrase we used to use at Bloomberg TV as well. The risk on mood has returned. People are going to be piling in because they're going to say, oh my God, I got scared for no reason. And just as human behavior is, they will overreact and probably overexpose themselves to some of the companies. So be careful not to do that. So as I said, AI demand very strong. So the CEO of nVidia, they expect to exceed $500 billion of long-term chip revenue. Now you're going to get on TV fund managers. I was looking at one yesterday who I was thinking, why don't these fund managers who have innovation funds, you know, whether it's the St. James's Place Global Innovation Fund, why are they only delivering single-digit returns per annum over the last 5 years? That's the average return of St. James's Place Global Innovation Fund. And I looked at it and I thought, well, is it their holdings? Yes. It's not that they didn't hold these companies, it's that they hold them in such small amounts that it became meaningless. Whereas you look at the world's richest man, or second or third richest man, Warren Buffett, you know, significant size positions in, say, an Apple or an nVidia. So really these fund managers and the likes of St. James's Place had really positioned themselves for 65-year-olds, you know, people who maybe on their, maybe not even 65. God, that's almost a decade to me. Maybe those approaching 70. Okay, the really risk-averse types. And what they're doing is they're putting so little in these companies. And then I looked at the narrative and the commentary of the fund managers. And usually it's just two fund managers, okay, primary manager and secondary. That's it. That's your full brain power because cost cutting. Why would you have more fund managers than that? And the managers are saying, well, we've got to be careful, you know, that we not get caught up in the hype, etc. So they're very much suited to a British market, okay, because of course that's their market, and to a demographic that's 70-year-olds. So what if you've got more of an American mentality and you want growth? You can see another reason why institutionally these funds in Britain are not going to deliver it, and why people are leaving these funds and doing more of it themselves because they've got the data, the intelligence, and the know-how to do it as well. Anyway, that's the main one. It's all good news today. What are we? Well, Thursday. So let's see what happens by Monday. The journalists will need to bring back the cycle of scaring people. I think we've got a few weeks until they do that. So it could end up being a very strong finish to the year. Everything's back on again, all thanks to nVidia. Of course, the irony was, as I said yesterday, it would be pretty perverse if Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, all of these others have given their earnings announcements, have all been positive, all exceeded expectations. nVidia was the only one which was lagging because it had such high expectations. I was concerned. I didn't have any inside information that that could happen because in the markets anything can happen, but it didn't. So thank you very much. Please, as ever, if you want me to keep doing these, we need the engagement up. The way the TikTok algorithm or the YouTube algorithms work is if you comment, if you like, if you share, if you save, even just click save, it bumps it up. It means I'll get more viewers, which means it's worth my time. Okay, so please do like, share, follow, comment, repost. All of those things bumps it up. It means do it for selfish reasons. It means you keep getting this. The other thing I want to talk about on the trading side is when I wrote this, The Mind of a Trader, Lessons in Trading Strategy from the World's Leading Traders, which the FT published, one of the most important lessons I got from the leading traders that I interviewed, which included people like Bill Lipschutz, recently hedge fund manager of the year, David Kite, Bernard Opperty, people like that, was equanimity. That's not a word we tend to use nowadays. Equanimity is keeping calm and detached from the markets and not getting sort of overly excited. When do you get excited? When you're taking big bet gambles. And we didn't want to take a big bet gamble on nVidia. If we had, we, in hindsight, could have made lots more. Equanimity is what led to the fortunes of these people. In other words, if it's the tortoise and the hare, it's the tortoise that wins. It's the calm, cool, collected, the Warren Buffett type of persona. If you find yourself getting overexcited, it means you've got very little information, you've put too much on hope, and you've invested too much in an individual investment. So be careful about that. If you want more education on all of this, campaignforamillion.com, completely free apps, tools, software, courses, internships, my God, books, including those to download for free, so much free information, resource. Again, one of the reasons why people are leaving the likes of St. James's Place and the like, unless, as I say, you have a very British mentality, which is, don't like the American hype, and I'm 70 years old and the low growth is good for me, in which case, absolutely stay with the low growth for managers. But for the rest of us, still got some spirit in our blood. We want better gains. We want better returns. And that's why people are doing it themselves. Have a look at campaignforamillion.com or alpeshpatel.com/links. Okay, either way, thank you very much.